Kevin Hassett is back with us. Love having Kevin on. Of course, the former Council of Economic Advisors chairman under Donald Trump. Could serve a variety of roles under another Trump administration if it comes to pass. Kevin, good to have you. You've probably seen this Wall Street Journal survey out today that show a number of economists fear inflation and deficits will actually be bigger under your old boss than Kamala Harris. What did you think of that?
You know, I thought that it's the same story that we saw in 2016. You could go back and look that there are all these stories saying that President Trump would cause stagflation. And the reason that these economists got it completely wrong then and they're getting it wrong now is that they've been trained in Keynesianism. And they don't understand that if you have supply-side tax cuts, that it increases supply and puts downward pressure on prices. Think about it this way, Neil, that Vice President Harris has proposed increasing the corporate rate from 21 to 28%, which would be the biggest increase in the cost of capital for any developed country in the last 50 years, a huge negative shock to supply. And so if you got a model that's, admitting the biggest negative supply shock that we've seen, in the last 50 years in developed countries, and you're saying that that's not going to cause inflation because of the reduction in supply, then your model doesn't have supply and demand modeled right. It's like a demand-driven model. And so I just disagree with those folks. And again, you could go back and look at all the headlines when President Trump took office. Like Goldman Sachs put out a report in 2016 saying that he was going to lead to stagflation, runaway inflation, and low growth. And in fact, the opposite happened. Inflation was in the ones and growth was really high.
Yeah, and the dirty little secret is even with Kamala Harris's plan, she adds trillions to the debt over 10 years, and that isn't worth the paper it's printed on, nor is the estimate, again, for Donald Trump. Because it's 10 years, they barely can factor this out a quarter or two in advance, let alone 10 years. Having said all of that, she at least does propose ways to pay for it. Now, maybe raising taxes on corporations and rich individuals isn't the way to do it, but she takes a stab at it. Now, Donald Trump, last time I looked at him, Kevin, has proposed 10 various tax cuts, everything from no more tax on overtime, no more tax on Social Security benefits, no double taxation if you work abroad, you know the whole 9 yards, and not a bit of it paid for.
Sure.
Does that concern you?
Well, look, what's going to happen is there's going to be a reconciliation bill next year where a lot of President Trump's new ideas that are very supply-side driven, right? Like, so if you don't tax tips, if you don't tax Social Security, that you're basically making it so that labor supply goes up. And all those things will be on the table during a reconciliation process that will, I think, improve the tax code dramatically. I think that Vice President Harris, on the other hand, is just proposing, to increase spending the way it's been going and to attack supply. Again, think about another one. Just the small business deduction that passed as part of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is claimed by 26 million small businesses right now, where they get to exclude some of their income from taxation, which lowers their tax rate. Kamala Harris wants to increase taxes on 26 million small businesses. How is that going to not be inflationary? The last thing I want to add, Neil, and I know you're really good at asking the hard questions. You've done it to me for over the years many times. But when you get the Democratic economists on, it seems to me like just about everybody who supports Kamala Harris thinks the Fed should raise its inflation target from 2 to 3. You go back and look. And so they're going to probably put people on the Fed that think that the Fed's inflation target at 2 is too low. And we need to start asking them that question, too, because this idea that President Trump is worse for inflation, for me, it's really not super defensible.
Well, he also wants a role in sort of giving the president more, I don't know, control is the word over the Federal Reserve, but he said he wants to weigh in. He has weighed in when he was president before. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. It's just out there. I do want to get your sense, though, of what he would bring, and that is with all the tariffs and everything else, and there's this feeling that these aren't just small tariffs, 200%, 300%, 400%. He was even talking about 500%. Does he do that for dramatic effect? I mean, you're a pretty good, numbers man here. I mean, is that realistic? And the fact is, we as consumers pay those tariffs, and American entities that have to adjust and maybe, deal with those tariffs. China doesn't like them. That's obvious. That obviously would put a crimp on how many goods they can sell. But it's the American people who pay through the nose, right?
Well, think about it this way, Neil, that when President Trump was in office last time, that he basically dramatically increased tariffs on China. And what it means is that the trade-weighted tariff, so you weigh it by where our imports come from, for the U.S. went from 3 to about 14%, about a 10% increase. And while that happened, we had 3% growth and 1% inflation. And so for sure, he's going to be hard on China again. And by the way, Vice President Harris and Joe Biden have kept all of those things that President Trump did on trade in there. And I guess if Trump had done more, they probably would have kept that too. And so, thinking that the inflation outlook is going to be different because of their trade policy differences, I don't think it's super supportable. Finally, the last thing I want to say is that the Reciprocal Trade Act is something that's in the Republican platform, and the typical trading partner charges us about double the tariff that we charge them. If we say we're going to lift our tariff to what yours is unless you lower it to ours, I think it creates an interesting theoretic game that could end up reducing tariffs all around the world.
We shall see. The jury's still out. Kevin Hassett, always great catching up with you.
We'll
Be
see.
well. Kevin Hassett on all
Thanks,
of that.